Hey everybody, Nercoids here once again with a new video. It's been a little while. I've had quite a few nice things happen to me in the past little while. I got engaged, I went on vacation a couple of times. I went to Spain and then I went to go see my family up north in northeastern Ontario. And I'm back. And I know my last video was about Rosa, the baritone guitar. That's right here. Haven't had much of a chance to work on it lately with work and vacation and whatnot. I have used it in a couple of recordings so far and I like it. I still need to work on the nut a little bit just to get it right, but that's not what this video is about. Kind of enjoyed the process of putting together Rosa. And there was this bass guitar that I saw on eBay that I've been eyeing now for the better part of a year. And it was a really, really cheap, well, inexpensive / cheap, whatever you want to call it, PBass. And it's from the same place that I got my S101 Strat copy from. I guess this is from Barry Clark Music in Tomah, Wisconsin. I got this off his eBay store. And it's sure enough a PBass. And I have to say, for $80 US, it cost me $150 Canadian. This thing shipped, taxes, everything in, which I have to admit, I would not be able to get a brand new instrument like that in Canada for that price. Unless there was a blowout sale somewhere that I'm aware of, much less a left-handed one like this. My first impressions about this bass, first of all, I think it's very well constructed. There's nothing loose or rattly about it. This bridge here is pretty typical for budget basses. It's very similar to the bridge, if not, it's probably the same bridge that I have on my jazz bass, my vintage modified 70s jazz bass. Or at the very least, it's probably the same as you could find on any Fender Affinity bass. It's pretty solid. Don't feel compelled to change this thing. Nothing rattling about. 5 screws. A pretty standard Godot type of vintage bridge, I guess. With, of course, these saddles being more modern. The neck, obviously, it's rosewood fingerboard, maple neck, and strangely enough, what really surprised me about this neck, yeah, it's made in China, it has little to no finish on it. You know, it's almost bare wood. Can barely feel any lacquer on it. I'm not quite sure whether it has, I mean, it's not 100% smooth. There's some rough edges here and there. But aside from that, it's a pretty solid chunk of maple. It feels good. I've tried some P-basses in my time, their necks, and this one doesn't seem to be quite as chunky. But I think in any other respect, it's pretty much a P-bass. When I first saw these tuners, I thought, well, okay, well, you know, for $80, I could replace the tuners on this thing. And these look very much like the tuners that are on my VB01 from Equinox, my Spock bass. However, when I went to go adjust to tune this thing up, to give this a first go at, these feel a lot more substantial. And so I have a bit of a theory about some of the hardware on this bass, because I took the tuners off of this baby here. This is my old Strat, and when I took the tuners off, I noticed that they were Jinho. Now, Jinho is a Korean machine head or tuners manufacturer, and they provide tuners for, you know, middle to high class guitars, and Wilkinson actually gets their tuners from there. They're actually very solid tuners. They're the same company that made the tuners that went on Rosa. And I originally thought, if you recall the video, that I felt that these tuners were somewhat lacking. It turns out that they're semi-closed or semi-sealed tuners, and there were probably some wood debris chips that got into the gears, which is probably why they felt a little rough. Because when I took them off, there was quite a bit of dust and there was some debris from there. So I'm thinking that they were probably put on in very much of a hurry. So I'm actually kind of glad about that, because other than that, I guess they're really good tuners. I thought I would have had to buy another one, or end up Swiss cheesing. But yeah, so I'm actually quite impressed with the bass tuners on here so far. They feel a lot more substantial, a lot more stable, and I like this bass pretty much. It has a nice 3 pickguard. I haven't taken the pickguard off to take a look at these pots, but now I'm going to come to what I don't like about this bass guitar, and it was the original knobs that came on here, which are these. Let's see if I can get a good lighting so you can see inside. You can see what the problem is. Yeah, that's right. They're very hollow, and this is 100% made out of plastic, and it feels very flimsy, and it looks pretty cheesy too. These knobs here are the ones that were originally on my jazz bass, and I have the number 3rd here. This is actual real metal, steel. This is probably steel, and in the center it's a much higher quality plastic to put them in place. So I slapped them on there. I also took these off so I can take off the plastic covering, because it came with a plastic covering on it. Oddly enough, the bass was somewhat set up, although I think the intonation is off a little bit here. But I've got the hex key and I got the hex key and the truss rod adjustment rod to do whatever adjustments. The neck on this thing is really nice. The other thing I didn't like is this pickup here, and I know for a fact that it's ceramic because I took this part off here, because I guess during shipping the foam sort of made the make these 2 pickups go cockeyed a little bit, and they still are a little bit. They're not as bad though. There's no grounding plate underneath here, and I have to say this pickup very anemic sounding. And it could also have to do with these stock springs too. They don't sound very good. I like the feel of the rosewood fingerboard. It's not completely flawless. There's a few dings here and there, so something to look at. But probably needs a good cleaning too, because it looks a little dingy. Although there is a little dust in here. My apartment's a little dusty. I need to, clean up a little bit. I'm a little falling behind in that. I have plans for this bass, but before I get into that, that's going to be another video. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do. Hey everybody, and here we are with the S101 PBass copy. Not a big fan of that logo. It's going to be going off. Going to be doing a few modifications, all of it pretty much cosmetic, except for the replacement of this pickup here, as you're going to hear. We're going to do a demo of it right now. The nice thing about a PBass is that it's nice and simple. It's just basically 1 split pickup, 1 volume, 1 tone. This is pretty much standard on any post-1957 PBass and its copies, especially of the passive kind when you just have 1 pickup. These are the stock strings. The only thing that has been changed on this bass are the knobs. Everything else is stock. And here we go. Everything is full open. I'm using a custom setting in Amplitude. Well, I'll try and put a description in the text or an annotation. Anyway, here's the basic sound. don't know how to pull and slap. It's not really my style of music. Despite my reservations about this pickup here, it does kind of sound like a PBass. I'm ordering myself off of eBay what they call a Calig guitar pickup, or a Calig. It's supposed to be an Alnico 10.5 kilohertz resistance, so it should sound nice and beefy. This is an El Cheapo ceramic pop. I don't know its impedance. I doubt if it's anything more than 7.5, 8,000 ohms. The other one's going to be 10.5 kilo ohms. We'll see. Now we're going to take tone down and just try it with tone down. These strings are very clangy, and they're obviously, well, let's be honest, they're kind of crappy. I'm going to switch them out. I had ordered myself some GHS Brite Flats from Bass Strings online. Of course, they haven't arrived yet. So in the meantime, I stopped at my local music store, Jimmy's, and I'm getting myself these. I'm going to put these on, these Flex Steels. Now, I'm someone that doesn't really enjoy the sound of round wounds. They have their place, and I must admit that you know, it's I have to admit that they are kind of cool to play with, but I don't know. Jimmy swears that these, although they are round wounds and they used flexible steels and they're nearly 100% steel, apparently they have a nice deep fundamental to them, and the high end is nice and compressed, but it's... Anyway, we're going to give these a whirl. These, I'm going to junk these strings. I am going to hold on to these, though, even when I get my Brite Flats. And I'm going to do a demonstration of those GHS Brite Flats when they come in. Okay, well, I just took the strings off. I thought I'd make a very short video before we get to the second part of our demo, before we put the Diodario strings on. Decided to just clean up the fretboard just a little bit, and I'm going to take a peek inside this pickguard while I have the strings off. I'm curious as to what we're going to find, especially down here, and to see if what type of pots there are. They're really generic or alphas. They're definitely not going to be CTSs, but they might be alphas. That's what they are in my jazz bass. So let's see. Alright, and the big reveal. Let's see what this looks like. Oh wow. And we have 500K pots on here. And, interesting routing here. It's really deep, really recessed deep. It's not a switchcraft. The tone works on here, actually. I think actually the tone roll-off probably works better than... but But that's interesting that they put a logarithmic on this one. That's what the A stands for, by the way. And they put a B on this one for the volume, which is linear. Actually, it should be the other way around. Come to think of it, I may have to change the pots in this. And it might be a good idea. But the pots is something I can buy locally. There's a lot of electronic stores, component stores here in Montreal. So, but I'm really find it so strange. It's like deeply recessed in there. So you definitely need some foam or some springs to keep that up there. I've got lots and lots of dense foam, so that shouldn't be a problem. Wiring looks pretty competent here. Yeah, it looks pretty well put together. Pickguard's a pretty good quality. It's a typical 3-ply, white, black, white. Nothing nasty here or anything like that. Yeah, I might just change the volume pot, but the tone pot is actually fine, so I might order myself some alphas, put all logarithmics on there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna pop this back on, and I'm gonna put those Diodarios on finally, and then we're gonna have an audio demo. All right, we're back. String change. We put the Diodario flex steels on there and played around with them, tuned it up and all that. And I have to say they have quite a bit of zing at the top. But the nice thing about these strings is you can play them softly as well. You know, that E string sounds really deep. It sounds almost as deep as flat wounds. I can't say that I'm you know, I like my GHS precision flat wounds much, much better. Compared to the other strings, the way these ones feel, they're about the same in terms of roughness. These are much brighter, though. But I have to... The thing is that I have a tendency to play up here near the neck on my jazz. Let's try closer to the on top of the pickup here. Has quite a bit of punch, actually. Yeah, when you play them gently, very clangy too, though. These strings do have an interesting top end to them. Let's see how the pretty flexible, all right. All right, let's turn the tone down. I think I prefer flat wounds, or at least pressure wounds. Well, this set did set me back about $40 with taxes in. Bass strings are a bit expensive up here. A bit expensive up here in Canada. I am going to hold on to these strings. You never know, right? I don't think I'd ever put them on my jazz bass. I think my GHS precision flat wounds, they're there to stay. And I'm looking forward to putting the Brite Flats on this one. So if I were to score these strings, I would have to say 6 out of 10. I mean, when you play them softly, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. Anyway, so yeah, this is the S101 bass, and these are flex steels from D'Addario, 105 to 45s. Great bass. Pickup leaves a little to be desired. That could also be the thing too, right? It's this pickup here. It's not the best. Once I get the Calig pickup installed, I have a feeling that this bass is truly going to come alive. Of course, by then I should have my Brite Flats. But no, I'm not a big fan of these strings. I mean, I gave them a whirl. You know, something to mess around with. Anyway, thank you for watching. And please, as usual, leave questions, comments, and suggestions below.